In this video, I'm going to show you why the Southern Cameroon liberation struggle will fail and why we should wake up and change strategies and rebuild our economy. What is happening with our soldiers is as they kept fighting, and if you're a barbarian for a very long time and you're not experiencing change, what happens is rival gangs start emerging. People start fighting one another, which is exactly what is happening right here. People start fighting one another, and as they're fighting one another, guess what? They still keep going back to the enemy's camp. If you want to call the French Cameroon your enemy, they start running back into the camp. And we have seen DDR centers that have been created, and people, when they give up, or soldiers, when they retreat, like we don't want to fight anymore because our own fellow soldiers are killing us, they run into the enemy's camp. This is cannibalism. It's like the soldiers, the fight, the struggles, the barbarians are eating themselves. And when they are eating themselves, that is called cannibalism. If we ought to fight, we've missed it long time ago. The integration, as we keep fighting, what is happening? Our people keep running to Douala, to Yaoundé, and other parts in the French zone. And what happens is, as that begins to happen, we are enforcing that integration, which is what we really needed at the building stage. So when we keep pushing hard and we keep fighting, guess what happens? That is what happens with our economy. People move to the French part of Cameroon and our own part of the country. Guess what? It dwindles. Every living thing has a pattern that indicates growth and a pattern that indicates a decline. Now, Lawrence Miller is the author of the book From Barbarians to Bureaucrats. And in that book, he coins out something very important. That is the life cycle, or the life cycle stages of 21 civilizations. 21 civilizations. And he points out the patterns that indicates their growth and the pattern that indicates their decline. This is very, very important that we observe 21 civilizations that have existed before us and be able to make wise decisions so that we don't push our entire part of the country to ruins. Does that make sense? So he said in the very, very first stage, there is always a prophet. What is the job of a prophet? The job of the prophet is to cast a vision that we should go this direction, we should rise up, we should build our economy, or we should get into politics. And you see Roland Fru and other great leaders within the Northwest, they had a vision of what the economy will look like, our country will look like, the Southern Cameroon will look like. We saw the rise of this prophet. So when the prophets rise up and they cast a vision, the next stage is always the barbarians. And who are the barbarians? The barbarians are actually the people that go out on the street and they're radical. They say, yes, let's do it, let's bring change. And some of the barbarians, they come in builders. They come in the form of people who have explorative visions or ideas that can help move the economy forward. And some of these barbarians, most of the times, are radical. They are always against the status quo. For instance, if you see what is happening right now in the English-speaking part of Cameroon, we have the rise of the people that are termed what? Terrorists, right? They call them barbarians. These are people who emerge when we find ourselves in a situation where we think change needs to occur. Okay, this is very, very important. This graph is going to help you understand everything that is going on in Cameroon, and you can judge for yourself if we will win or if we will fail. And if we will fail, then we should change strategies and understand that this is not working, and at the end of the day, we are not going to gain anything out of killing each other. Does that make sense? So then the next stage is the builders and explorers. So he talks about the builders. And the builders are those who come up with initiatives that bring about development. And I want to stay right here for a little bit so I can actually outline a comparison between the barbarians and the builders and explorers so that you can understand what is happening in our economy. If you look at Cameroon right now, we've seen people like the Cho Ayaba, Sako, and all the people who have risen up to say, let's pick up arms and go fight. And all of us unanimously abroad have been able to contribute money for this cause, with the hope that if we separate the country and build our own nation, then we will have to build, we'll have to explore, and we will develop our own system, right? So, but one thing that we fail to understand is, if this ought to happen, timing is everything, right? If this ought to happen, it would have been in the time of Ninja Mfrundi, when he rose up in 92, won the election. That was the moment. But he did not follow that strategy. Ninja said, if everybody dies, who am I going to rule? So that time passed. What has happened? Over time, we have integrated with the French, right? We've integrated with the French. If you look at the very beginning of the struggle, in 2016, what happened? We saw that most of our celebrities were rising up. They were integrating. They were singing both English and French. That is, their music, their movies gained national and international recognition. And this by itself, as small as it is, if our artists are able to sing in both English and French, and they gain national and international recognition, what does that tell us? This says that we are in the building stage. And all the money that we have contributed, our resources that we have contributed towards separation, towards fighting, that money would have been directed towards building and exploring. It was the period of integration and development, but we missed it, and we channeled our resources towards separation, which is what we endorsed, right? So why am I saying this? If our artists, who are sometimes, like you see in Nigeria, there was a fella, right? The fella rose up and he was able to sing and move the nation towards a direction. Artists, their job in society is very, very crucial. Some of them are spiritual, and God used them in amazing ways. And we have seen, if our artists were not experienced, we've never in the history of Cameroon have our artists rise up the way they did, sing from the English-speaking part of Cameroon and gain this national and international recognition. This is very important for you to note, because they come to your cities, you welcome them, you throw money around, but they are a powerful tool for transformation. And what happens is we see that that integration, development is happening. Now with movies, you've seen Kang Quintus, he's produced movies in both French and English. And what happened? It is gaining international recognition. The energy that we should actually exert at this moment should go towards building and exploring and not fighting. The time to fight, we missed it if we wanted fighting. But at this stage, we need integration, we need building, we need development. This is very, very important. Every civilization in history has gone through this cycle. 21 great civilizations has gone through this cycle. And that is what Lawrence Miller coined out in his book. I encourage you to get that book and read it. From Barbarians to Bureaucrats. It is very, very important. Then the next stage, he talks about administration. When you guys have developed your nation, you've built, right? Because at this very stage, we don't have any skyscrapers. Like in Northwest and Southwest, we don't have huge companies. We don't have all of the structures that actually indicates that we are a developed nation. We don't have that, right? So when we build, which is where we should be, all our resources should be going towards building. Once we've built, now we have administration, a little bit of structure. A little bit of structure start coming into our economy, like, okay, this is how we should do things. Oh, you come to work this time, and this is how the organization structure looks like. Before you want to do anything, you have to consult the manager, you have to consult the CEO, you have to, all of that happens after you build, and then we have administrators come in and start putting in that structure. But at the building stage, we just develop and make it work. You ask the question, why did you skip Synergist? I'm coming right there because it's very important. Okay, and then when you come to bureaucrats, now you start seeing that degree of hierarchy emerging from that economy, and this is happening across the world. And right now, this is exactly where America is, right? We are seeing now, we don't see people saying, hey, I'm down there in the trenches walking with the people. Presidents are right up there. There is a ladder you have to climb, and you don't see people, maybe presidents down right here with the barbarians or the builders, the soldiers. It is very, very important that you understand this graph. You understand this structure. You get what I'm saying? So from this level, we get to the aristocrats. And we've seen this in Rome several times. That's happened in England. It's happened in Rome. And the reason is because when people make money, they develop their economy, they start experiencing prosperity, there is a tendency for hierarchy. All of this emerges. This is very, very important that you understand. And then something happens. This economy that has turned towards, or a country or a civilization or a nation that has turned towards administration, bureaucracy, and aristocracy, what happens is it is in a decline. That's why you see this graph is falling. The graph rises from the prophets to the barbarians to the explorers that develops a nation. Now we see that administration is something good because growth is still at this level. But you see that the economy or the country begins to decline. And when the country is declining, or when that civilization is declining, now we see the synergist emerging. And what is the job of the synergist? The job of the synergist is to remind the people why they started. The prophet was singing the song, the prophet was blowing the trumpet, that this is the direction that we should go. So the synergist comes in and reminds us, like, this is why we started. We started because we wanted good roads. We went on the streets because we wanted good jobs. We went on the street because we wanted schools and all of that. So the synergist comes and reminds us. Not only that, the synergist reminds us of the struggles that our founding fathers and the patriots of our nation have gone through to make sure that we have this amazing civilization that we're enjoying. Is this making sense so far? So this is what I want us to understand. If you look at this graph right here, right below, from the barbarians and the bureaucrats and below, you see reliance on personalities and dogma. That is what happens, right? And it is very, very important that you understand that. And then right up here, it is all principles and processes. This dynamics and stages in the developing cycle of a nation is very, very important to take into consideration. You can take just this graph alone and understand where we are right now, that we were supposed to be here and we've missed it. And we can come back here, and this is where we should be right now. We should be building and developing. It's very, very important that we understand this. Okay, now, and right here from the very beginning, you see how all of this is all command and collaborative and command is all the same thing. But the most important thing is to understand that we should be building and integrating at this level and not fighting. So where is Cameroon right now? We are here. We are at this stage. Now, what do we need? We need a synergist and we need builders. Because the synergist is very, very important. We need a synergist, we need builders, and we need prophets. We need people to let us know, and that is where I'm coming, to let you know that this is where we are, and I'm still playing that role of that prophet, screaming, this is where we are, we should be here, not here. Everything has turned against us for the past 7 years. And this is it. Numbers are so powerful. I don't know if you take numbers serious. I do. Now, 7 is the number of completion. That is when you've been doing something for a long time. If you've had 7 years and you haven't had progress, change your strategy. 8 is the number of new beginning. This is the 8th year of us fighting. This is the year of new beginning. And I am coming and sounding this trumpet and reminding you that this is what your founding fathers, this is what the Ninja Fru did, this is what the John Good Foncha, all these people went through, but this is where you find yourself. If we ought to fight, we've missed it long time ago. The integration, as we keep fighting, what is happening? Our people keep running to Douala, to Yaoundé, and other parts in the French zone. And what happens is, as that begins to happen, we are enforcing that integration, which is what we really needed at the building stage. So when we keep pushing hard and we keep fighting, guess what happens? That is what happens with our economy. People move to the French part of Cameroon and our own part of the country. Guess what? It dwindles. So what am I saying? We can achieve enormous prosperity if we integrate and collaborate. What is happening with our soldiers is, as they kept fighting, and if you're a barbarian for a very long time and you're not experiencing change, what happens is rival gangs start emerging. People start fighting one another, which is exactly what is happening right here. People start fighting one another, and as they're fighting one another, guess what? They still keep going back to the enemy's camp. If you want to call the French Cameroon your enemy, they start running back into the camp. And we have seen DDR centers that have been created, and people, when they give up, or soldiers, when they retreat, like, we don't want to fight anymore because our own fellow soldiers are killing us, they run into the enemy's camp. This is cannibalism. It's like the soldiers, the fight, the struggles, the barbarians are eating themselves. And when they are eating themselves, that is called cannibalism. They are eating themselves. So it's something for us as our leaders. Please understand this and be able to make the changes, because I know everyone's intention was that we should have the finest things of life. And if that is the desire, we should put that first against the fight. Let's put the things that we want to achieve. Let's put the dreams that we want to achieve against the fight. Does that make sense? So that is how we actually overcome. We overcome by changing strategies. And right here, we should be building and not fighting. There is something very important I thought I outlined before we wrap up this video, is to understand that if you come into an organization and you ask the leaders, who are your heroes? And the leaders say, I don't have a hero. Or they point a hero of the past, someone who was dead. Then you should understand that that organization or that country or the movement is in a decline. Like if you ask your leaders, who are your heroes? They say, I don't have one. Or they say, oh, someone was dead. You should understand that that organization or that country or that movement is in a decline. But if you ask your leaders, who are your heroes? And they say, hey, my hero is the Prime Minister of England. My hero is the Vice President of Canada. If they are optimistic and they can point out a hero, someone who is alive, then you should understand that that economy is emerging. That is something very important. If you ask your leaders, who are your heroes, or anyone fostering the movement or the struggle, that who is your leader, and they said they don't have a leader, they don't have, who is your hero? Who do you look up to? Because everyone should have someone they look up to. Someone should inspire you. That is how we live. That's how we build. Someone starts by inspiring you, and then from that stage, you find yourself. You cannot say, I don't have anyone who inspires me. I don't look up to anyone. And if they are looking up to someone in the past, then we are in a decline. And if they don't have at all, then we will be normally in the decline. So you start by looking at someone who is very successful. You study under them. Like you see Alexander the Great, he had Aristotle. He was a student of Aristotle. They taught him. And then he became the Alexander the Great that went out and conquered the known world. And why? He had a mentor. He had someone that guided him at some stage. That is very, very important that we note that. So it is very, very important that you guys take into consideration the level or the stage at which we find ourselves, make the necessary adjustments, and then carve a path for our nation. This is what I want to say. We are at the building stage. And if we have been fighting for the past 7 years, this is the first time in the history of English-speaking Cameroonians that we were able to pool our resources together and set aside our tribal differences. This is huge progress. But that money would have been going towards development. It is something that happens in the life cycle of every economy. At some level, we keep away our differences. We set aside our differences and come together. But we missed it because we came and our leaders didn't see that we should be building rather than fighting. And so we missed that. And so if we keep fighting, guess what happens? Cannibalism continues. We'll keep eating each other. We start fighting each other. We start killing our own people. And these are resource. People are resource. People are the greatest asset. Guess what? If we want to build our economy, we will need people. We will need builders. We need bricklayers. We need carpenters. We need engineers. We need IT guys. We need people who are capable of building our economy. And so if we kill our young population, what are we doing? We are destroying our own civilization. We are destroying, or we are actually the hindrance to our own civilization. And that is very, very important that I note. So what is the path? So what is the way forward? This is the time for us to build and integrate. Start developing companies in our own part of the country. If we can do that across the whole nation, fine, do it. But I think that integrating with the French at this level is very, very important than separating for our own development and for our own good. I repeat, integrating with the French, which our artists are doing right now, which our actors and our filmmakers are doing right now. And I think that vision, that strategy will help us achieve all that we want than separating and fighting. That is very, very important. Let's start by setting up workshops that will drill our young men in construction, our young men and women in construction, in development, in IT, in data science, in AI. There are very smart Cameroonians around the world that can actually jump on board right now and be able to carve a path and show us what we need to be doing in these areas. And we are working on that. So I encourage everyone watching this video, you guys, there will be a number somewhere here. You can DM me and we start putting up that structure immediately. Because guess what? Nobody's coming to save us. We are the people that we have been waiting for. And as we start developing these projects, if the government will come in and help, fine. If not, we will do it. We will work hard. We've put our resources to fight. We can put our resources to build. So it is very, very important that we understand the stage of development. We will invest in the industries that are actually changing the global landscape when it comes to economic development. We will be investing in those industries. There are about 7 industries that are actually changing the global economy. And we are going to prioritize education in those industries. We are going to prioritize allocating resources and funds into those industries. We are going to offer scholarships to students who do well and can develop themselves within those industries. It is very, very important that this time we take action towards development than towards fighting. Why? Because it's leading us to cannibalism. Because we don't understand the cycle that we find ourselves in on this graph. So again, I want to repeat, this is the life cycle stages of 21 civilizations. 21 civilizations. And it's evident. So understanding this graph is going to change everything. I expect us to start holding meetings, start helping the people in the bush, to help them detox from all the experiences that they have had for the past 7 years. We should create rehabilitation centers, even online if that is cool, and start orientating them on how to maybe use their weapons or keep their weapons down and be able to integrate in society. Because I don't think that there is a good program that can help them to detox out of these experiences that they've had for the past 7 years. So let's set up structures and maybe online programs and use Zoom and WhatsApp to be able to orientate them so that they can be able to integrate in society again. That is very, very important. Everybody in every part of the Southwest and the Northwest, please hear me. This is the time for us to take action. The Manfred massacre is a classic example of what is happening within us right now. And I just want to say, this is the step that we need to take. A word for a wise is sufficient. Or a word to a wise is sufficient. So let's take action. I love you guys so much. I hope this session was very educative and informative. Share this with your friends. Subscribe to this channel. I want to let you know that there will be more good stuff coming up every week that will inspire you, direct you, and enable you to be all that you were created to be. I love you guys, and never give up on your dreams. Never give up on who God created you to be. Until next time, stay blessed.